Well, we all know that only 30% of women actually have orgasms during intercourse. And so what I think this whole conversation should be about is women specifically understanding that the clitoris, for a lot of women, if they have clitoral stimulation, they're more likely to have an internal orgasm during sex or during anything else. It can just help to knock out that clitoral orgasm, and then the whole internal area, the G-spot, if you believe in that kind of thing, becomes more engorged, and then it's easier to have orgasms.
You're listening to Sex with Emily. I'm Dr. Emily, and I'm here to help you prioritize your pleasure and liberate the conversation around sex. Despite their reputation as magical, mysterious events, orgasms are way more accessible than most of us realize once we understand the science behind them. And okay, yeah, I admit they're pretty magical. As everyone's favorite muscle spasm, the orgasm is a series of contractions from your pelvic floor muscles, which all of us have and all of us can strengthen. But what else sets you up for orgasmic success? What if you can experience one alone, but not with a partner? What if you can orgasm in your sleep, but not in waking life? And what if you want to experience different kinds of orgasm, like anal, or want multiples? I say be greedy with your orgasm and listen to this best of episode where we answer all those questions and more. For each episode, join me in setting an intention for the episode. What do you want to learn from this episode? What do you want to get out of it? Well, my intention is to help you experience this part of sexual pleasure with both confidence and more knowledge about what your body needs to have the sensations you want. In other words, my intention is to help you unleash your orgasmic potential. Please rate and review Sex with Emily wherever you listen to the show. My new article, 6 Kink Styles and How to Explore Them, is up at sexwithemily.com. Oh, check out my YouTube channel, social media, and TikTok, all at Sex with Emily for more sex tips and advice. If you want to ask me questions, leave me your questions or message me, sexwithemily.com/assemily, or call my hotline, 559-TALK-SEX, 559-825-5739. And please always include your name, your age, where you live, and how you listen to the show. And totally cool to change your name or remain anonymous. All right, everyone, enjoy this episode.
These are ways that we perpetuate the orgasm gap that we never realized, according to a psychologist. So I talk a lot about the orgasm gap in the sense of, God, men orgasm way more often than women. And also women need longer to achieve orgasm. And sex only lasts between 6 and 8 minutes typically in heterosexual couples. And women take about 20 minutes to orgasm, and there is a gap. Another way to think about the gap is that there's this thing that is subtly penetrated through society about vaginal penetration. We are pressured, women are taught from a young age, and men, that if we don't orgasm through vaginal penetration, a man sticking his penis in my vagina and I don't have an orgasm, there is something that's wrong with me. I am broken, because that's just how sex is. So here's a few ways that they show that this is why we believe this, is that pop culture depicts women orgasming through penetration. So think about it. Everything we've seen in porn, mainstream movies, there's a few seconds of thrusting, and all of a sudden, like, a woman's having an orgasm and they roll over and everything's amazing. And so we believe that something is wrong with us if that doesn't happen. The other thing is, the proportion of women who orgasm through penetration is way overestimated. I mean, I've told you this, guys, many times, that only 30% of women can orgasm through penetration alone. And there's other studies that say it's only like 15%. Bottom line, women need their clitoris stimulated, you guys. It is a different deal. Because the next point is, female genitalia, since we can remember in our lifetimes, have been defined by the vagina. So the socialization teaches women that we should orgasm through intercourse begins at that time in our lives when we are small children. And we're like, men have a penis and women have a vagina. So nobody talks about, the fact that actually the clitoris is something very different than the vagina, because we hear penis, vagina, and then we hear sex. So we think penis goes in vagina and that's sex. And this is kind of analogous to telling a child that the nose is for both eating and breathing, since the nose and the mouth are on the face, which kind of reminds me of like the vulva, which is the exterior to the vagina, and the internal. So you can see why we all just assume that the vagina is where the magic happens, when really for a lot of women, it's the clitoris, the vulva. And then finally, you guys, I'm going to say it. This is true that male pleasure is simply valued over female pleasure. Again, this has to do with society. And this comes down to the way we have defined sex in a way that really favors male sexual pleasure over female sexual pleasure. And so in a study in the Journal of Human Sexuality, they found that 63% of college men, but only 44% of women received oral sex during their last hookups. So men are getting blowjobs left and right, and women not so much. So I think that we're always seeing like talking about the blowjobs. Women feel like they owe men oral sex, and guess what? That's really not the case. So let's close that orgasm gap, shall we? So you guys listen. So I think you can see this really hit close to home, and I hope it really made you think and think about, wow, there is this gap. I have not been having the orgasms I want to have. Do you feel like your orgasms have been gapped? Do you feel like you have not received your due amount of orgasms? Because you can see here, you guys, it's really just the way that we've been socialized. It's really deeply ingrained to who we are from a very young age. You guys, this is in no way bashing men. I don't think you know any better. Like, I wouldn't know. I believed all of these things at one point, that I was broken because I wasn't having orgasms through intercourse. So I get it. So I want to hear from you, though. Is there a way, do you think that you've missed out on some orgasms because of this, men or women? Does this make sense to you? Does this resonate?
Okay, let's talk to T43 in Arkansas. What's going on? Thanks for calling.
I've been married for a long time, but my spouse just never really is interested in trying to, climax. She'll like get excited. She'll get into it, but it's like, just got to stop before we get there. Like,
has she ever had an orgasm before?
I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
So it's not like she was having them and now she's stopping herself. We don't even know if she's had one.
Right, and that's the thing. I don't know that she ever has.
Okay. Well, then that's the thing. So she doesn't know what it feels like to have one. She's probably feeling pressure. I would have a real honest conversation with her, T, about your sex life outside the bedroom when you're hanging out, whenever you have conversations and you want to keep it curious and you want to keep it light and supportive, and just say, I want to talk about our intimate life. I think it would be really hot to see you, have an orgasm and to really turn you on. I want to make sure I'm doing everything to get you there. Can you tell me what really arouses you? What turns you on? And she might say, I'm not talking about this. It's been 20 years. Why are you asking me now? And you're like, well, because it's important. We have to be intimate, And then you could say, like, I'd love to make you orgasm. And then you could ask her if she's had an orgasm, and you just keep very curious and non-judgmental and see what she says. A lot of women have never had one because they assume they're going to have it through penetration. But most women don't have it through a penis. They have it through masturbation or through oral sex or through fingers or a toy.
Yeah. Well, and she's really, opened up more for the oral, than even in
awesome.
the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she's good with that. And even of late, in the last, last year, is she'll say, hey, do this or do that. That really feels good, So it's like there has been some progress, but it just, I just have always, and we've always had a good relationship, but it's always just kind of strange to me. I'm like, man, why do you not really want to try to get there?
Well, maybe she's never had one and she feels pressure. Like all of a sudden, maybe she feels like she's about to and she stops. That's something that women do sometimes. We block ourselves. So maybe you could say, I'll be here all night. I'll do whatever you want. Like, I want to see you let's get you there. Like, I think that would be really hot because maybe she's like, some women feel like they have to pee and then they get embarrassed. And it's like, because you're stimulating the same area. So you just got to maybe calm her nerves and tell her you think it'd be fun to kind of get there together. Like, kind of relax her nerves around it. Because if she's stopping, there must be a reason. And I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah. Well, and it could be, it really could be the, just the fear of the unknown somewhat.
Yes.
And
it's a losing control. You lose control when you have an orgasm. You kind of let go and you're like, oh my God. And maybe she's afraid of that. Maybe she orgasmed once.
Probably real truth to that. Yeah. I think there's probably real truth to that. Well, that's very interesting. I appreciate the advice, and hopefully maybe I can have that conversation at a time.
Yeah. Think about my 3 T's of communication: timing, tone, and turf. We also have a great guide on our site, our communication guide. And just remind her how much you love her, how hot you think it would be to watch her orgasm. Ask her if she needs anything from you to feel comfortable to let go and just finish with you. This should help you take that next step and help get her there and have more pleasure. So just let me know how it goes, and thank you so much for calling.
Kay, she's 26 from New Jersey, and she's feeling frustrated with her sex life and is looking for tips to help her orgasm more often. Hey, Kay, thanks for calling.
Hi, Emily. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you, too. I want to help you with this orgasmless sex life. So tell me a little bit more about what's going on.
So, okay, I don't have any problems orgasming myself.
Okay.
Me and my boyfriend have been together for 7 years. And I've had many partners before him, and I've just never been able to orgasm during sex ever. And it only happened with him one time, and that was when we probably did about 40 minutes of foreplay. So it was very extensive. So
that sounds about right.
We're not able to do that every, but obviously we're not able to do that every time. So it's kind of, I guess it's more about me getting out of my head, and I just don't know how to do it, and I've been trying so hard.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. 7 years, and this is good. So you can definitely orgasm alone when you're masturbating, no problem.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And how do you do that? Do you?
Actually, for the most part, I'll either use toys or I'll just do it in the shower with like the shower head.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. So you can do it. So usually it's with a toy though, not your hands.
Yes.
Okay. Which is totally right. So you do realize, Kay, that you're like most women on the planet, 70% that can't have orgasms with their partner without, like on their own, like with like the first, second time or after 7 years, they need to kind of work on this. So nothing's wrong with you. Like, I hope you know that, like, this is just like probably one of the most common challenges women have, because we're told, like, I was actually just talking about the 50 Shades of Grey. How I'm like, the first time she has sex, she has an orgasm, like multiple orgasms,
Right?
and every time, right?
Yeah.
Did you read it? I'm like,
And it's in
this
like 20 seconds.
yeah,
Like,
in 20
that doesn't
seconds.
exist.
She explodes around him in a puddle of orgasm. I'm like, oh, lucky you, bitch. So, okay, so you're just like a lot of women, including myself. I was not able to orgasm until I worked on it with a partner. So I think that with your guy, so he's cool with it, right? He obviously knows that you haven't been able to orgasm during sex, during intercourse.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and what have you tried using toys with him?
I have. Yeah.
Have you ever tried just like a clitoral vibe? Like, I think that it just means that you need more clitoral stimulation during sex. He could probably warm you up with oral. That time that you had foreplay for 40 minutes, what did that include, that foreplay?
The one time that it happened, you mean?
Yeah.
So we actually did couples massages, and he was doing like a lot of teasing. So I had like a blindfold on so that I wasn't able to see whatever he was about to do. And he actually made his own restraints for his bed. So I thought that was amazing. And,
oh my God. Yeah.
He just teased me
I
with
just had
a
an
whole
orgasm.
bunch of different things.
Right. No, so teasing. Okay, so you need that. Okay, this is so good. I'm so glad I asked this question. God. Because it sounds like you need that, like many people, you need that build up and that tension. And that was really hot for you, where he like touched you and then he kind of pulled back, right? And then he came towards you and then you didn't know what was happening and he was in control.
Exactly.
And so how can we kind of like, I think that, incorporate that into your sex life, where maybe he just, like, it doesn't have to be a whole elaborate, maybe you didn't need the massage before for 10 minutes, but there's some kind of restraint play. And I'm not saying every single time, but like he could just use, also Sport Sheets makes these great Velcro cuffs. I have on my website that you could just like, literally they're ready to go, or the underbed restraints, they live under your bed and they're always there, like ready to use.
Okay.
So that would be one thing. So it sounds like what turns you on. The teasing and the buildup is a huge part of arousal. So it sounds like you need some of that. That makes sense. And then having sex with them again, I would try using just like a little, you could even use a bullet vibe, like something like you just might need that extra stimulation on your clitoris just so you know that it can happen. But I think that what he was doing there with the teasing is going to help you. And then the other thing is you can also orgasm in the shower. Have you ever thought of taking a shower with him and using the shower head?
So we had a couple times, and I don't know if it's just me being self-conscious, but I just cannot like pull the shower head down and just like do it myself. I think it's because maybe I've only orgasmed in front of him one time that I'm just so nervous about getting to that point with him, and it makes him feel like he's not doing a good job, and then I feel horrible. So I keep telling him it's not 100% like his responsibility, that it's like it's both of our responsibility.
It is both. So he even did he feel bad in the shower because you didn't orgasm, or he just didn't even want to see that? Like, it's sometimes uncomfortable for guys to see a woman using like a toy or using the shower head because he's like, what am I doing? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No, he's actually really comfortable with using toys. He actually bought me my first one. So,
okay.
Yeah, so he's totally open to that. But he won't say anything, like, if I don't, try to, I guess, do things myself. But then I feel bad that I didn't speak up, because I feel like once we're actually getting intimate, I'm very quiet and I don't speak up. Then
right, it's hard to
then
do.
It's like afterwards.
Right. Okay. I think you just got to have that toy by your bed, have some lube. I mean, definitely tell him how hot you thought the restraints were, and maybe get some easy. Like you said, he did some DIY restraints. I would just seriously go to our website. We have a store, Sex with Emily, and you just look up Sports Sheets, or there's a banner on our site. You can click through to their site and see everything. And they're like reasonably priced. They're like Velcro. Like literally, it's so easy. So maybe a little more of that. But then also, I would also say mutual masturbation. Have you guys ever, because you said you're uncomfortable like masturbating in front of him, but what if he's masturbating and you're masturbating and you're checking out what he's doing, he's checking you out, or maybe you're just getting into your own body, and then you get more comfortable masturbating around him. That could be a good entree into that. So these are a few things you can play with.
Okay. Yeah, I thought about that too, but I think it's just that self-conscious feeling that like I just can't jump ahead and do it. I just can't get out of my own head to stop being so self-conscious.
Right. Okay. So getting out of your head is really just, honestly, it's focusing on your breath. So the second you start having those thoughts like, oh my God, I'm not going to come, because that can kind of be our orgasm blocking ourselves, is that you go back to your breath. Go back to your breath and go back to breathing your breath like really far down into your pelvic floor, like really like deep breaths, and just feeling it, because that's where like a lot of our energy is stored, and like pumping like your Kegel muscles, if that makes you feel good. And just like getting, like the second you have that thought, it's like training the mind to go back to whatever you're feeling in your body. You're like, okay, I'm having that thought, I might not orgasm. And then you go back to your breath and go back to like the sensations in your body. Like if you can keep going back to that, or if there's like a fantasy that you think about when you're masturbating, that could be a really good one too. Do you have a go-to fantasy?
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't really have a go-to, but I can actually just kind of make up scenarios in my head, but I really don't have like a go-to.
Okay, so if you're able to think of, fantasy is a huge part of arousal for women as well. That I think that, and even if it's not about your partner, like you don't need to give them play-by-play. It's not cheating. Whatever comes to mind, if you could just say, if you're having one of those thoughts, it's not going to happen, or self-defeating, think about a fantasy. Think about your breath. Like anything, the second that comes in your mind, transfer it back to your body or transfer it to a fantasy. And then your mind will be on board with the sex more. It's just a training.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, try that. Okay, let me know how it goes. I know I'm saying that, but I really want people to let me know. I want you to have orgasms, but you will. I think it's like you're at the point, 7 years. This will happen for you, Kay. Like you've talked about it. You've got all the tools. You did it once. Like you're so not far from there. So.
Okay. I hope so.
Yeah, we've got this.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Well, thank you so much for all of your advice.
Oh, you're welcome, Kay.
Don't go anywhere. After the break, I help Laura get to the bottom of why her girlfriend is struggling to orgasm.
Okay, this is from Dexter, 48 in Florida. Dear Emily, according to recent books, clitoral orgasms seem to be the holy grail of orgasms. Previously, people were encouraged to explore the G-spot, the U-spot, and A-spot orgasms. Now it's being said that there's no such thing as vaginal orgasms and that searching for the G-spot is a waste of time. What are your thoughts on this, Dexter? Okay, why do these studies keep coming up, you guys? There's been so many studies that the G-spot exists, it doesn't exist. Now, I happen to know that a lot of women are going to tell you otherwise. I can assure you that all these companies, too, that make these G-spot toys that just kind of hit this sweet spot, they're probably not wrong either. But the vagina is just very, very misunderstood, and that there's really no such thing as a wrong kind of orgasm. Some women have clitoral orgasms. Someone can only have internal orgasms, call it the G-spot, the A-spot, the U-spot. But I think the most important thing is that women bottom line, they need to prioritize and figure out what works for them and find out where their pleasure is, then go in that direction. I think the clitoris is confusing. It's not just that little button that has 8,000 nerve endings. There's also, those nerve endings extend inside. There's internal nerves. So people might say, oh, well, maybe that's actually what's happening. The other reason why this is a debate, I think, is because so many women have this expectation that during penetration, they should have an orgasm. And if they don't, something's wrong with them. They're broken. They're missing some kind of superpower. Well, we all know that only 30% of women actually have orgasms during intercourse. And so what I think this whole conversation should be about is women specifically understanding that the clitoris, for a lot of women, if they have clitoral stimulation, they're more likely to have an internal orgasm during sex or during anything else. It can just help to knock out that clitoral orgasm, and then the whole internal area, the G-spot, if you believe in that kind of thing, becomes more engorged, and then it's easier to have orgasms. So my thoughts to you, Dexter, is if you're with a woman, just pay attention to what she needs, what she wants. Have talked with her and figure out her hot spots. I'm sure she will guide you, or you guys can go exploring together. We have so much potential for pleasure, guys, so just keep searching.
Let's talk to Laura, 28 in California, who has some questions about her girlfriend not being able to orgasm.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I had called 6 weeks ago, and so I just wanted to say thank you for that conversation. I was asking how to make a move when we were newer.
Yes, I remember.
And yeah, you told me to just ask, can I kiss you? And I did that, and it was great. And
Oh my God. And 6 weeks later, you're so welcome. Sometimes you just got to ask. It's a good move, right? Awesome, Laura. Okay. Well, I'm glad that helped. And I'm glad you're calling back.
It's going super well. Yeah. I mean, we're a great match in a lot of ways. And we're exploring kink together and having open conversations about what we like and want to try. But she doesn't come with partners. And that's her thing.
Okay.
And we're still, doing our thing, having fun, exploring. But I guess I'm just trying to figure out, is there anything I can do to support her in maybe being able to move through that?
Yeah. So she's never orgasmed from anything you've done to her. So you've never seen her orgasm yet?
Right. I mean, I've definitely seen her I don't know how to call this, but when there's just more lubrication.
Right. So she's been aroused. Yeah. She's been turned on, or maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So, has she?
But never a point of climax.
I mean, have you ever asked her why she thinks that is, or is she just that's who I am? I don't come with a partner.
I asked one of your questions that you've probably told other people to try of what works for you when you're alone?
Yeah.
And she said, it's nothing you're doing or not doing. It's just I'm in my head.
Oh, okay. And has she been in other relationships before with women?
I think she's newer to it.
Okay. I think what would be really cool is if you guys had a night at home where you guys are playing around and do some mutual masturbation. Because that is such a, if she's comfortable with that, which I hope she would be, when you're both kind of getting off, then it's hot because then you're looking at her get herself off. But then also you're seeing what she actually does and how she touches herself. And I know she might say, no, I can't even have anyone in the room. But I think that's a loving way for her to kind of try it out again without the pressure of orgasm. So that would be one way. And I think she wants to be able to orgasm with someone. Let's just say it's not that she can't, she hasn't yet. And why she might not, I don't know. Maybe she has some shame around it, or she's, there's a million reasons. She could feel like she doesn't like her orgasm face, or she's embarrassed she has to use a vibrator every time, or maybe she's never orgasmed for all we know. So those are a few things. But then also, she said she's in her head. And so when we're in our head, it's really important to, and you said you guys are getting into some kinky stuff. What's really, a lot of people who are into BDSM and kinky stuff, it actually helps take them out of their head and into the moment because you're focusing on pleasure, pain, a role you're playing, spanking or receiving or talking dirty. And so you're really actually present. So that might help you. And then also just general mindfulness, you guys are making eye contact, breathing together. You're listening. You engage all your senses. So you've got a candle lit that smells great and got really sexy music, and she's feeling the touch on your of her hands on your body, and just practice slowing down and really being intimate together, and maybe she can help move through some of her mind stuff if she feels really connected and safe with you.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Of course.
Yeah, so I feel like we're trying all these things, and I think we're both trying to kind of take the pressure off of, like, making sure she can figure out how to get there.
Okay.
But I guess in terms of the, like, mutual masturbation thing or, you know, supporting her in mindfulness, like, is there a way I can talk to her?
Okay.
Like, do you have a suggestion of what to say that might help her feel comfortable, like, trying those things out?
Yeah, I think what you should say to her is next time you see her, not when you're in the bedroom, you guys are hanging out, having dinner, or, you know, breakfast, just say, you know what?
Yeah.
These 6 weeks have been amazing. I think I really love, you know, the connection we have. And I know we've talked about this before, but it would give me so much pleasure, or it really turns me on, or, you know, you'll know her language, but like, I would love to go on a journey with you where we can figure out what turns you on. I mean, I think it sounds like maybe you've said that because you said you already did the not pressure thing, but I think it's a matter of saying you're safe with me. I think it'd be really hot without the pressure, but like, I would really be turned on helping you have an orgasm and helping you get there. I think it would really connect us even more. And I want you to know I'm here for you for anything. And I think it'd be fun to try some new things out. And if anytime you don't feel comfortable, you know, I think it'd be really hot to see how you touch yourself. And we can light some candles. We can take a bath together, you know, just kind of lowering it, you know, your tone, and just kind of making it more like, hey, like, what do you think about that? But I think it would, you know, be really hot and without the goal of orgasm. How about the goal of exploration? Trying mutual masturbation. I mean, which one of those do you think she'd be into first?
Maybe the mutual masturbation.
Yeah. Tell her you listened to the show. I heard this thing, and I think it would just be so great because I could, you know, see how you touch yourself. That would turn me on. You can see what I do. I think it'd be fun to play together. I love, you know, if you guys are into kinky stuff, to me, that would be something that she might be into because it's really hot and fun. So I think just putting it out there. But I think it's really just talking to her and letting her know that you just want to help her get there and all that, and you support her. Find out more why. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Call me back when it happens. We'll help you with the next things that come up because they always do.
Okay, this is from a 27-year-old female on Instagram. What's the best way to have multiple orgasms? The best way to do it is to first decide that you want to do it. Because the good news about having a vulva is that the majority of us who have one, and some people know it as the vagina, but the vulva is the external part of the vagina, we can have multiple orgasms. It is possible. In fact, our clitoris, which is responsible for majority of our orgasms, only exists for pleasure. It's only there. It has 8,000 nerve endings. The penis has 4,000, and it's only there to give you pleasure, which is pretty friggin' cool when you look at like biology and how we've evolved. But the challenge is no one ever gave us an instruction manual. It was like, hey, you've got this love button and you can ride it all day. You're like, really? I didn't know that. I just had one orgasm and I'm tired. So learning to have multiple orgasms, like I believe that many women can. Now, there's some women that can't. There's a few reasons why. Like women whose clitorises are really sensitive typically can only have like really big internal orgasms. But I'm just going to go with the majority of women that can have multiples for this purpose and the time we have. Let's just talk about during masturbation, because that's how I learned. Like, I feel like so many of the ways that I've learned my body and I've learned how to become a better lover is by learning to become a better one to myself. So I was like you, I only had one orgasm and I was fine that I finally had one. And then I was like, okay. And so what you do is you really just turn yourself on, you masturbate how you always masturbate. Touch yourself, maybe you have one orgasm. And then usually when you would stop after that orgasm, you kind of pull your fingers away. Maybe you start playing with your nipples, using your hands all over your body, rubbing your inner thighs, you know, just sort of taking away right from the clitoris or wherever you were rubbing. And then you start to breathe at the same time. And I'm talking like a deep breath where you're like way down to your pelvic floor, like you're feeling it go there. And then you have a long exhale, like those deep breaths. And then you can go back and start playing. And maybe you're mixing up the way you were touching. Maybe if you're using a vibrator, use it a different part. Maybe you start to tease your labia, because it's not just about the clitoris. Women have the ability to have orgasms in so many different ways. Like there's a lot of other erectile tissue that you find in the labia and over your pubic mound, which is right above your vaginal opening. So it's just a practice of knowing that it's possible and then breathing. And so, because our refractory period, meaning the time between orgasms for women is a lot shorter. Like for men, it can be like 24 hours. For women, it can be 30 seconds or a few minutes when you're learning to practice. The other tip is doing your Kegel exercises. You strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. Those are the muscles that are responsible for orgasms. The stronger those muscles are, the more likely you'll be able to have orgasms and multiple orgasms. Here's an email from Caitlin, who's 25 in Texas. She writes, "Hey, Dr. Emily, I've loved listening to your show the past year. I've been seeing this guy on and off casually for about that long. It's been mostly friends with benefits. I've never had an orgasm with any guy I've been with from sex or oral. The same goes with this guy, and he wants me to orgasm, and he tries different positions and asks me what to do, where to put his hand, etc. I just can't get there. I know my own body very well. I masturbate regularly with no issues in the orgasm department, but I get frustrated that even with my directions to guys, I can't ever finish. But I think this is a mental thing, even though there's no past trauma or anything that will cause that. Help a girl out to achieve orgasm. Thanks."
Okay, hey, Caitlin, here's what I got. This guy that you're seeing casually, friends with benefits. Next time you guys see each other, I would say, oh, you know what I've been thinking? I've been thinking about how, sometimes I try to show you what to do during sex and to give me an orgasm. Because I orgasm, like I just masturbated today thinking about you, and I had a huge orgasm fantasizing about us together. And what I thought was, I think I'm getting into my head a little bit when I'm trying to show you, and it's making me a little like, I don't know, I'm like, orgasming, blocking myself. Make it fun and just say, but I would love to kind of show you together, like maybe we could do some mutual masturbation where we're laying next to each other on the bed and you could watch me masturbate and then I could watch you masturbate, which is really hot, or maybe he just watches you first and, make it like, and then you could see what I'm doing. Because babe, I don't know how to explain it to you, but wow, how hot would it be if you knew how my body worked? You could also say, just let him know that and say, so when I'm guiding you in the bedroom next time, like, I just want you to know that I might be in my head a little bit. So maybe you could just put your hand over his and maybe he'll be more receptive knowing that it's a place of vulnerability for you. And I also think that if you are still getting in your head, this really is about being more mindful and going back to the moment. Because I think if you have a real honest conversation with him, you won't be worried much. Because I think what you're probably thinking is he's not doing it right, or he thinks I'm weird that I'm showing him and I'm afraid I'm not going to orgasm. And you have all these things in your head. So if you clear that out ahead of time with him, and then you're more mindful of your thoughts, you can just go back to the moment and focus on like the pleasure that you're having, how he's trying to please you. Remember to breathe. And remember, a lot of it is probably just figuring out what exactly kind of clitoral stimulation you require from him, and he's learning too. So make it a little more easy and casual. Thank you, Caitlin.
That's it for today's episode. See you on Tuesday. Thanks for listening to Sex with Emily. Be sure to like, subscribe, and give us a review wherever you listen to the podcast, and share this with a friend or partner. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Sex with Emily. Oh, I've been told I give really good email. So sign up at sexwithemily.com. And while you're there, check out my free guides and articles for more ways to prioritize your pleasure. If you'd like to ask me about your sex life, dating, or relationships, call my hotline, 559-TALK-SEX. That's 559-825-5739. Or go to sexwithemily.com/askemily. Special thanks to Acast for powering the Sex with Emily podcast. Was it good for you? Email me, feedback@sexwithemily.com.